Welcome to episode 23 of 6460, the show where I tell you 6 things that I love about Star Trek in honor of the 60th anniversary of the franchise. Well, lucky folks, you get a 2-for-1 tonight. I originally started plotting out this episode to talk about my favorite aliens, and then I realized that for some of them, the version of the alien species that I really love was not really presented in any of the television shows or movies, but they're all in book series, various book series. So this is a combo tonight. I'm going to talk to you about my favorite aliens, and I'm also going to talk about the TYPHON PACT series. But we're going to start with a TV show favorite alien. So number 1 is TOS season 1 episode 25, The Devil in the Dark. Now, if you watch Trek TOS in syndication, this one rarely gets shown, at least in my experience. So The Devil in the Dark, again, people say, oh, Star Trek isn't woke. But it's just a beautiful story. The Enterprise responds to a mining planet where miners are being murdered, and the Enterprise is called in to help. So what it is there's an alien. It looks like a big blob. People call it a lava monster, hockey puck monster, poop monster. Lots of different ways that people describe it. But basically, it's not appealing to human eyes. So in its ugliness and in the unfortunate death of miners, they immediately assign malicious intent to its actions. Well, it's only through, again, good Federation starship ingenuity and empathy and insight, they realize that this devil in the dark is really just a mother protecting her children. And at the end of the day, Bones heals the alien who has been injured by a phaser fire, and Spock mind melds to understand and communicate with it. Kirk defends it, and his men, of course, and then it ends up working, and the children end up working with the miners to make them richer than ever by mining for them. So it's a beautiful story about not judging a book by its cover, and, the possibility of missing out on value to yourself and to society by being judgmental. So great story in beautiful TOS Star Trek fashion. So my second favorite alien is in Discovery. I know I don't mention it often. Season 4, episode 12. So it's towards the end of the series, and it's called Species 10C. And also it's in the follow-up episode 13, Coming Home. So there was a lot of hate on the interwebs about this particular alien species. People didn't appreciate it. I did, because it wasn't your normal bipedal humanoid alien, or they just didn't stick some extra arms on it or some extra legs. Completely new and wonderful. It communicated through light and odor. So and told whole stories and communications. And even though there were multiple bodies, it was one entity. So I thought it was a fun and creative new alien. I mean, yay, of course, running into other humanoids. It follows in with the TNG episode where they found the progenitors and, all of that wonderful stuff. But isn't it nice to see aliens that clearly weren't the result of the progenitors' actions? I think that's great and fits into the Star Trek universe. So I liked it just for the fact that it was completely different from other aliens we have seen and encountered. I appreciated it. So, my next three favorite aliens are found in the Typhoon PACT series. So basically, the Typhoon Pact is some old aliens and some new ones who have formed an alliance to combat the Federation because everybody doesn't love the Federation. And they're more aggressive in their actions. It's not like the Orion Syndicate where they're just doing their own thing. They're not actively working against the Federation. The Typhoon Pact is actively working against the Federation in these 8 books. So I won't read them all to you. They should be on the screen. And I want to say number 6 might only be available in a digital format. You know, I love a good hard copy book, and I was disappointed at some point in the series because I could only get 1 or 2 of them digitally. So do with that what you will. But again, great series. I don't want to give away all the details, and maybe I'll go talk to some friends who are English majors, and I'll get some pointers on doing book reviews that don't give away too many details. So I'll just say some of my favorite points of this series is that it is amazingly detailed and thorough. You get great insight into old and new alien cultures. I mean, really deep, robust. You get to see daily living by just regular citizens. You get their history. You get new biology facts. How they see themselves in the Federation, their own internal societal struggles that they have separate and apart from Federation issues. It's really well developed. The aliens that you get to meet. Then, secondly, you get to see the ugly side of the Federation. So not in an evil empire kind of way. It's just a massively huge bureaucracy that has to make galaxy-changing decisions. And just like any big government, current actions and consequences are the result of previous decisions made by people who are no longer in power and without knowledge that you might currently have. So it's also a bit of a political thriller, you know, the entire series. And they introduced some new technology, not a lot, but some to make it fun. One of the great things, you really get to see more of the inner workings of Section 31. I really think, again, I won't talk about that Section 31 movie that we got. It's fulfilling. How Section 31 is portrayed in the books is just 10,000 times more fulfilling than the movie that we received. And the other thing I like is that you got to see conflicts between the Federation goals and member planet goals. So again, there's just a lot going on, and you get to visit with, you know, crews from TNG and DS9, and you get, of course, the existing characters we know, and you get introduced to new characters as well. It's just, it really respects the existing Star Trek universe canon, while still being wildly creative and engaging and fun. And I think I might have said this, you know, years ago. I'm a fan of animation. So if we needed to save some money on production, this series would be an amazing choice for Aeon Flux style animation series of movies. It would just really be great. I think it's creative enough and well written in such a way that it would appeal to Star Trek and non-Star Trek fans. And I know people freak out when you say, oh, if it appeals to non-Star Trek fans, then I don't want it. It can't possibly be good. But trust me, the stories are so well written that you would not have to be a Star Trek fan to enjoy it. But they don't sell out the Star Trek-ness in order to make it palatable to non-Trek fans. So if you were looking for something to read this summer, dive in to these books. And I think you will really enjoy them when you do. So, but anyway, okay, so that was kind of a sidestep over into the book series. Back to the next three aliens that I really enjoy, which are the Andorians, the Tholians, and the Gorns. And again, it's how they're presented in the book series, not from any of the TV shows or the movies. Because honestly, in the TV shows and the movies, you don't really get any insight. Definitely not into the Tholians, the Tholian assembly at all, which is a shame because even introduced in TOS, just how they were described, it was interesting, and I always wanted more of them. And we got some in Enterprise, which I appreciated, but how they're developed in the book series, they're just so much more complex and wow, just really thrilling. So, yay, Tholian Assembly. Even though they don't love us, they don't love the Federation, but you understand why when you read the books. They have a reason. Not all of the aliens in the TYPHON PACT, I don't personally think really have a reason to hate us. But they do. So, let's talk about the Andorians. I know I'm just so wild and just rambling all over. The Tholians were number 4 on the list, and I completely skipped over number 3, the Andorians. You do get a look at the Andorian society in Enterprise. So, yay, Enterprise. But you see, and there's a little deviation in how they mate between what was presented in the Enterprise and what's in the books. But again, the Andorians have their very own rich history. They mate in quads. It takes 4 to create a little family unit and breed. And they're pretty much blue humans with the same love and desire and conflicts, but they're much more interesting in the book than they were ever presented in TOS, and they did a good job with them in Enterprise as well. So again, if you all can get past the theme song, go watch Enterprise. Even though I didn't love it at first, it's definitely a very Star Trek worthy series. And so then we've got number 5 on my list, the Gorn. So, again, we didn't get a lot of insight into the Gorn hegemon. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that tonight because my mouth is dry and I'm tired. And the Gorn in TOS are presented as brutes. And of course, by the time you get to the end of the episode, Spock, it's like, maybe we were encroaching on their territory. So maybe they're not as bad as we think they are. Or maybe these aliens who have pitted us against one another, these godlike aliens, maybe they just set us up for this. So you kind of get that. So you don't really know how to judge the Gorn in TOS. And the Gorn as presented in Strange New Worlds, if you had seen how they're presented in the Typhoon PACT series, you would be a little bit upset, as I was, because in Strange New Worlds, they are less intelligent. They are just vicious animals, except for the one Ortega met. But they're not presented well. They're just not presented well, I didn't think, in Strange New Worlds. And to me, it makes them less of a threat to the Federation the way they're presented in Strange New Worlds. In the Typhoon PACT series, you see them, their breeding is determined by the heat levels and minerals and things. So they're on certain planets that breed certain Gorn. So like there's a planet that has the proper environment to create your scientists and doctors and leaders. And then you have like different places that have the heat and minerals and all that produce their warrior caste and so on like that. So that makes their society much more complex and also explains, I think is more in line with what is presented in TOS, would explain why they were fighting for territory. So I don't know why the writers in Strange New Worlds decided to present them as these, alien body parasite kind of creatures, but they did. And it works for that show. But they're much more complex and interesting in the Typhoon PACT. And I have the same thing for the Breen. Same thing for the Breen. Really did not care for the way the Breen were presented. They're not even on my list, but I'm going to throw them in. Did not care for the way the Breen were presented in Discovery. Just very one-dimensional, kind of jarheads. Just, bleh. It was such a letdown. When the Breen in Typhoon PACT are complex. And I keep using that word because they are. And their society is interesting and has some great values and a great way to explain why they wear those uniforms and the helmets. Just, it's a really good series. And again, there are rumors of a major Star Trek reboot. It would be amazing if they chose to really use some of the work in these beautiful books in Destiny and Typhoon PACT. And I'm sure there are tons of others out there that I have not read. I've got stuff on the bookshelf that I probably haven't touched in more than a decade. But just, it's a lot of good Star Trek material out there. Assuming that it would even make it to the screen with production costs. I don't know that we would get that same quality in a live action show. And it would be wonderful if it was more than 10 episodes a season. So they could really develop the characters and give you these excellent stories. But anyway, I have just, I am rambling today. So, my last on my list last on the list today is the Borg. And again, it's not from TV shows or the movie. It's the Borg as presented in the Star Trek Destiny series. I'm not going to talk about it in detail because I did in episode 17, which aired on April the 28th. So again, I've got to say my most favorite thing about this series, Borg origin story, is that there is a satisfying Borg origin. I mean, when I say satisfying, I mean knife and fork. Through that series, it just meaty, makes way more sense. Delicious. If it was a meal, it would be traditionally in prime rib, you know. And so there you are. I don't know. Whatever your favorite meal is, that is what this Borg origin is. It is just wonderful. If you watched Picard, I really hated the way they treated the Borg in that series. It was so ick. That's my 6 for 60 this evening. Let me know if you are interested in reading the books, if you plan to read the books, if you have read the books. I would love to get somebody else's feedback on the 2 series that I have mentioned. Let me know who your favorite aliens are presented in the Star Trek universe. And just in case anybody's wondering, where the heck are the Klingons? I love Klingons so much, they get their very own episode. So look for that episode coming up in the future. So friends, I hope you all are enjoying the very start of the summer, and live long and prosper.